Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from beautiful Udaipur in Rajasthan, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to beautiful Udaipur in Rajasthan. Woo! And we got Kaustubha in Mayapur, the holy Dham of mercy with Lord Chaitanya. He's with Tara alive. I've gotten, if you've been to India with me, you know. My good friend Mukesh and his wonderful wife Chanchal, and we're here with the bright light, Kelly Skinner, and of course Mara spinning the dials here. And who you got over there, Kaustubha?
I got Catherine A, handstand queen over here, cold plunger expert
Extraordinaire.
And Tara was supposed. Tara, are you around? Tara's supposed to be here, but I don't see her.
Tara's coming. Okay. Wow, it's exciting. We just got back from a half-day trip to the famous Srinath temple, Nathdwar. And it's in our lineage, we call that the Gopal deity. And we told the story the other day during the Sweet Baby Krishna class that you missed, that me and Jiva led, about the deity that was discovered at Govardhan Hill and then hidden from the invaders. And this happens a lot in India. Invaders come and the deities have to be taken off the altar and put into Brahmins' houses to be worshipped secretly. And so this one they put on a cart, and we saw the cart today. We saw the cart that the deity was put on, and they brought this cart to Rajasthan. They're pulling this cart, and then at one point on a certain hill, the cart would not move, and they accepted that as the deity wants to stay here. And they built an entire city today. I accept that too. They built an entire village.
Right?
It just sunk down deep.
That he wanted to stay there.
That the Lord wants to stay there. And we have this incredible, they have all these, pandas. They're like the children of the priests.
Yeah.
And they're all like teenagers. And they're all like these beautiful Bollywood looking kids. And they all every one of them was like a beautiful model. And they're all like, they'll show you around and tell you the stories. So fortunately, we had Mukesh here with us, and he told us some interesting facts today, didn't he, Mukesh?
Now, Raghunath, before you dive into this, should we have the announcements and all that? You're running
forget it. I'm running amok here. Mara, tell some announcements. What's going on in your life, Mara?
Well, we have a Back to Recovery group meeting today at 9:30 a.m. And tomorrow's show will also be at this time, 6:30 a.m. Eastern time, right, Kaustubha?
Yeah, and we'll do it at that time, and I guess we should just stick with that time. I mean, I could do it later, but we're gonna keep it steady.
We're gonna and it's gonna be a special Q&A day with Tara Prabhu. I'm not gonna be here. We're gonna be traveling, and
what time do you leave in the morning?
We leave early, but it's a long day, so we're not doing it.
You didn't answer my question. I wasn't asking. I was just asking what time you're leaving. That's all I want to know. I know you're not doing the show. I'm not trying to convince you to, but I just wondering what time you're leaving.
6 a.m.
6 a.m. Okay. All right. Yeah. So today we thought we'd do something a little different with the show, right? Because I think you all over there had like just a heart-opening, mind-blowing experience at this ancient temple that you went to. And along with my wife and friends, we went to a place in South India, another ancient temple where I had a mind-blowing, heart-opening experience. So we said, let's just talk about the ancient temples and their experiences in them and what makes them special and whatever was happening. Sound about right?
Yeah, that's right. And I'm going to first introduce Mukesh. A lot of people, you guys know him. You got to come real close to this microphone. Say Haribol, Mukesh.
Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Mukesh has been my tour director. He plans out, does all the behind the scenes work for us, and everybody who comes on pilgrimage with me falls in love with him and his wife. So you want to say something that our Panda, that is the young priest, told us about the deity today, about Srinathji?
Sure. So
Srinathji, we should tell people that means that's Krishna, right?
Yeah, it's a Krishna deity. That's his nickname. Srinathji means, Nath means like Lord, and the Lord of Sri, or of the goddess, Srinathji, and Ji is like an affectionate title. And the town is called Nathdwar, the gateway to the Lord, or the doorway to the Lord. Okay, tell us something about the deity.
Oh, the young Panda, the deity, it all the way from Govardhan. So today the young priest, he was telling, that was interesting. I never heard that earlier. Like he said, the deity can be here only for 500 years. So it's been almost 350 years. The deity is here. So another 150 years, deity will be here in Nathdwaraji. And then we have to take back the deity to Govardhan.
Wow.
Interesting fact, isn't it? The deity has to go back to Govardhan.
Will they put him back on top of Govardhan Hill? I bet they will. I bet that's the idea.
I do not know, because they still worship him on top of Govardhan Hill. Yeah. There is also, he said this other interesting fact, that the deity, they say when they put him to bed at night, he leaves mystically and he sleeps at Govardhan every night. I don't know what they mean, if the deity itself leaves or in spirit leaves, but that's what they say. He is not there. He's not considered in Nathdwar in the nighttime. He goes back and does his thing after the evening artik. Also, the interesting thing about this deity, they were saying, it never wears the same clothes twice. There's people sewing all day long. So he always has new outfits. There are 4 wells of ghee, and he only bathes and drinks. He bathes in and drinks Yamuna water. So they bring big truckloads of Yamuna water. It's a very, very high standard of worship. And Mara, I mean, you were there. What did you think of the darshan? The darshan, to get in there, you have to. It wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't easy at all. It was insane. There was just such long lines to get in, and people were so eager. I mean, I thought at one point that there was going to be a brawl that was about to break out because people were upset that, another line was being let in before us. But when we finally got up there, it was just like we were right in front, and it was incredible. You could really, it was like tangible, the sacred energy that was in that space there. It was unbelievable, well, even among all the chaos and craziness.
Well, these Gujarati ladies, they're enthusiastic, but they don't know that you box. Right?
I'm glad that I do.
They're used to these Western women coming up, and they're not nearly as into it. But you turn around and you start a few of your combinations, and
exactly.
You'll get your spot up front.
I might have to at one point.
They have these the pujaris. They wear these very funny, almost look like birthday hats. You know what I mean? They're bright, colorful hats, and they have these little, almost like little towels, and they beat you, but almost like they bless you and beat you back. And it's beautiful and it's playful. Like, get back, get back, get back. Unlike a bouncer at a concert, which would be throwing people off stage or, breaking their necks. These guys are playfully hitting you back from the Lord. And it's just packed, trying to think anything else about Srinathji. And then there's the prasad.
Yeah, but before you even get to that, did you mention that Srinathji goes back to Govardhan every night to sleep? He doesn't sleep here in Nathdwar?
Have you been paying attention?
Sorry.
Mara, where were you? Busted.
Then we got to partake in the prasad of Srinathji, which was incredible as well. So you got the most expert cooks making these sweets, sweets you've never had before. We had this stuff called Kasturi Pak. which is like they say it's like a sweet meets a medicine.
Oh, is
And
that
you're
the one
supposed
with
to
like
take-
54 different ingredients in it? It's got gold in there. It's got- I've had that before. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And you eat it, and it's like it takes over your whole mouth. It's like camphor and castor and cloves, and it's they say it's like a rejuvenating medicine sweet that they offer every day.
Yeah.
So got some of that. What else do we get?
Well, those giant, they have these giant ladus that are like the size of your head.
Size
like a
of a
big brick.
cannonball, like a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
brick of ladus. Kelly Skinner got some. She still has some left.
Bring
Anyway,
some of that
it
home,
was-
Kelly. I would like to try that, please.
And this is all in this incredible area of this land of kings, the Rajasthan, the land of the Rajas, of the kings who are convinced they descended from the Surya Vamsa, the lineage of the sun god. You know, so it's like here's a trivia question for Mara. Ram lineage is from the sun. So Ram is from the Surya Vamsa. What is Krishna's lineage?
The moon.
Ooh, very good.
Good
The moon,
guess.
descendant of the moon.
Good guess.
Like what? Venus.
Yeah.
It was. I think that. But anyway, that was right.
Ram was solar though. I knew that he
You
was
ru-
the solar and that Krishna was the moon.
Yeah, and so what you see all over is you see big carvings of the sun with wearing tilak all around this area. And there was like a really serious. Oh, what was the story of the and Mirabai was from here. What? That's Chittagar, Chittorgarh, and that has like a interesting story you were telling me about.
Well, you had to say who Mirabai is.
So
'cause that looks
Mirabai is one of the great princesses of this area. And, you know, her husband tried to, not her parents, like, you know, every parent marries off their daughter at a young age to a neighboring prince. And they basically saying, no, we're going to make an alignment with this other kingdom, and this is going to be the husband you're going to marry. And she insisted, oh, father, I'm already married. And she said, well, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, I married Krishna. And she said, Krishna, who's Krishna? Who's this guy Krishna you're talking about or talking to? No, Krishna, Bhagavan Krishna. And she was like, oh, you're being a silly girl. You can't marry Krishna. She's like, father, I've given myself to Krishna. So she went through this marriage, but in name only. She was madly in love with Krishna and only accepted Krishna as her husband. And even when she went through the marriage, the husband actually was very, very kind. And he just said, you know, we will not consummate this until your wedding. I'm not going to force myself upon you. But after a while, the husband got killed by the Mughals, and she didn't put on all white. Like if your husband is killed, you're expected that you will now become a widow. You wear all white. You don't wear fancy clothing. And I think it was her husband's brother. He was very furious. He's like, how dare you not put on, you know, the white robes, shave your head. What kind of woman are you dressing like this, all attractive with your husband dead? And she was like, no. My husband did not die. My husband cannot die. My husband's Krishna. And so she was looked at as an eccentric, but she was just madly in love with Krishna. So you can still visit her city. It's a beautiful city. You want to say something about Chittagar? Coming right close to the microphone.
Chittorgarh is something really very special place. It's about like 2 hours drive from Udaipur. And that place, it was being seized. The fort, it is built on a high, like a small mountain, and where the entire city was. And this fort was being seized by the invaders. When they seized the fort, so these women, they realized because the fort was being seized more than 6 months, the supply was cut. They could not get any food and water to the fort. And that time, there's all the young children, women, they realized that these invaders will take us. So instead of going to the invaders' hand, they decided to burn themselves alive. So about a couple of thousand women, over 15,000, they were being burned alive inside the fort.
Can you imagine that this is like a reality? It's like a very, very, you have these sad stories of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, Kaustubha?
Invaders?
Sad stories of
Invasions?
just war stories, war stories that take place of invaders coming, colonists coming and killing. And these are ones that get swept under the carpet. You don't even hear about these things. This is a real story. And these women just going, okay,
Not us.
We'd
You're not
rather
taking
die.
us.
Building massive fires and saying Jai Shri Krishna, putting Tulsi in their mouth and diving into the funeral pyre with their children. And the husbands, check this out. The husbands put on saffron robes, understanding they're going to die. They put on saffron robes like the sannyasi, put Tulsi in their mouth, and just went out to battle, expecting to die. So this is like the type of mentality of these Rajasthani warriors and kings. And it's still got that sort of feeling in these places, like a kingly place. And anyway, that was today. But I want to invite Kelly over here. Kelly, come over here. Because Kelly and me woke up early today because I couldn't sleep. We were all exhausted from our travel. We couldn't sleep. And I said, Kelly, let's go to just Mangal Arti. So we went over to the temple in the morning. And it's when you see these people in Rajasthan, they have so much bhakti that, and I really wanted Kelly to experience this today, as Mara experienced later in Srinathji. Just talk about who was in the temple this morning.
There was Hare Krishna, everyone. Haribol. There were these like women that Raghu called them just a group of girlfriends, but these middle-aged women who were beautiful and just got together and sang these.
Is this in the Jagdish temple or in the
Jagdish, right here in Udaipur?
Okay, so you're right there in Udaipur. Okay.
Yeah, back in Udaipur in the morning after Mangal Arti, and they just sat and they sang, like they took like a breath in between bhajans and they were just into the next, and they were playing. What was that big drum? What was that? Not a mridanga. What was the drums they were playing?
This morning they had a dolak. I think.
Really cool drum, and it was just the way they were singing, the way that they would reach up with their hands and towards the deity, and
A little closer to the mic, please.
The way that they would reach up with their hands towards the deity and like with their eyes closed singing. As Raghu looked over at me and he said, now this is what changes your heart. Like this is bhakti. This is getting to see bhakti. And like I was welled up with tears just watching them. And I didn't understand anything they were saying. And there was no way for me to, but it didn't matter. It was just being in the energy of their bhakti.
Like one of them would just stand up spontaneously and just dance, and they're not dancing to put on a show for us or their girlfriends. They're putting on a show for their deity. They're dancing for the pleasure of the deity. And I can think how like I can see invaders coming here and like, look at these stupid tribal people, you know what I mean, like worshiping some stone. But then I saw it, I would like try to put my mind back and forth from the devotee to an invader. And I was thinking, as a devotional person, this is the most beautiful thing ever. They have so much bhakti, and this is stuff that transfers to your heart.
And then when one of the women left a little bit earlier and went around and touched the feet of all of the other women there before she left, it was so beautiful. I was like, I want to be one of them. I just want to do this.
I remember I was with I think Lori Pag and a bunch of people, a big group at that same temple. And this is, Rajasthan, the bhakti is off the charts. It's off the charts. You can feel it tangibly. But I was there, and after the kirtan, we would do a big kirtan, and then all these ladies would do a big kirtan. Then we'd do a big kirtan, and all these ladies would do big kirtan, and we go back and forth like that. And then we were getting ready to leave, and one of the ladies who was one of the lead singers, she goes, "Oh, take me with you, take me with you." And I said, "Yes, please come with us." And she said, and she looked at me very seriously and said, "No, I will never leave my Lord. I will never leave my Lord." And she looked at the deity. It was so beautiful. And this is a type of bhakti that I think when you see it, it rubs off in your heart and you're like, I want this. They have something. I want this. And, it was also a sign of like, what a great community. These are all friends. They probably grew up doing this. The same thing I realized today in Nathdwar, that all these like beautiful young kids, they look all like my son, but they're like all Indians dressed in these beautiful bugle bundis and dhotis and tilak, all look super cool. And they were all like, they must have grown up watching their fathers do this. And now they're doing this. They're taking the people around the temples, explaining things. And I was just think, how nice to grow up in a village like this where Srinathji is this. And you can, I didn't even understand what he was saying to Mukesh because he was purely speaking in Hindi. But I was like, I could tell his excitement, and he must have been 19 years old, I could tell his excitement telling the stories of the deities and like nodding and excited. I was like, man, what a win for the like, what good fortunate birth to take birth, where you are telling the stories of Krishna and that's on your mind and the deity is at the center of your life. We can't even imagine how fortunate a birth it is for people to take birth in these families.
Even just like understanding the basis of that, like in other words, the cultural basis, like where people's heads are at there, which could be so different from like where we're from. I remember when my wife and I stayed there in Udaipur, we stayed there for like a week or something like that. And we wanted to find a good place to eat that was, pure vegetarian and that also didn't have any onions and garlic and wasn't easy to find. And we asked someone, just someone in the street or something, we were asking, and someone said, well, let me help you with this. And then they brought us to someone's home, and they just arranged for these people to cook for us every day. And these people said, okay, it was like, oh, these two have come from so far, they love our Lord Krishna and everything like that. Let's take care of them. And they didn't even want to charge. We eventually said, let us pay you something for this, but they just like, no, you come every day for lunch and we'll cook for you. What do you want to eat? We'll make it for you. It's like that. But just shows like their heads are in a different place. It's just, it's something special.
It's something special. And this hospitality and love and community. And even while we're walking up the streets here, everybody's just going, Jai Radhe, Hare Krishna. And sometimes they're trying to sell you something, but they're not that attached to selling you something.
They're kind of soft in their
They actually just care about you. And everybody here worships Krishna. Everybody here worships Krishna.
I mean, you haven't described what that town is like, but it's really quaint. It's like, it's got the big ancient Rajasthani palace, but that Jagadish temple is like this. It's like you got to climb these super steep steps, and then it's like this white marble, just tons of carvings all over, right? It's like an impressive, far out building, like where you're way up. Yeah.
I posted some pictures. We're going to post more. If you can't really see, if you're watching this on YouTube or watching us on Zoom, in the background, you see these beautiful windows. But if you could look out these windows, there is such a breathtaking view of the lake, because there's 7 lakes in this town. And on the lake are different palaces. The king had a palace on the lake. King's got a monsoon palace on top of the hill. There's like these little island palaces. You can now they're hotels and things like that, but you could visit them. But it is an incredibly charming place. And I'm taking, if you want to go, we're going in January, in October. I'm looking forward to it.
And the streets are full of all kind of cool little shops and everything with like devotional art and
you know what? They have a lot of antique shops where they buy out estates, and you can find like very cool stuff you can't find anywhere. Just like old classic Krishna prints or Shiva prints or old deity paraphernalia.
You're gonna get me a gift?
Want a gift? Let's get Kaustubha a gift.
I just thought that's the kind of thing you're throwing me. I figured out. What are you bringing me back?
I would ask you for a gift.
Oh, Krishna.
So yeah, it was a great morning and it was a great day, and we got back exhausted. And we were like, okay, I got 20 minutes to take a nap before the podcast. So that's what we did. We were gonna stop off at this Eklinga, this other ancient. We're gonna do this temple. This Eklingam Shiva temple. It's an ancient complex of temples, and I think we're going to go there on the pilgrimage. We're going to stop there, but we were too wiped today.
Nice.
So why don't you tell us about your little trip? And first of all, you're in Mayapur. You want to say something about Mayapur?
I won't get too much into Mayapur because I think let's save that for another day. I'm here for like a pretty long time, and there'll be so much to say, and I know that I'm going to be going through different thoughts and feelings that are going to be coming up. But it's kind of like it's the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya. It's considered in our lineage the holiest place, non-different from Sri Vrindavan Dham. It's on the bank of the Ganges River, which I bathed in today so happily with my old friend Tara. And it's at the time of like an international festival. So I used to come to this festival every year for like over a decade back in the 90s. So there's so many people that I'm seeing, and I could go on and on, but it's a place, it's the most unique place in the world. It's full of devotional mercy, just seeping and pouring and showering from every direction.
It's one of those if you're like an opted in, I'm a Hare Krishna devotee. It is like a
Heaven on earth.
Disneyland. It's like a fantasy land come true because you see devotees from all over the world, and it's a beautiful, breathtaking campus that that people senior to us like literally like gave their lives and their heart and their sweat and their time and the prime of their life to build, basically.
And Raghunath, I couldn't help thinking of you, but like in Tara's house, he lives in this kind of grihasta area, this area of married families.
It's the
and it's these
area
every
in the
building
world.
is absolutely beautiful, and in the middle of it is just like a big playground.
It's a
and
playground
it's with
for the
banyan
kids.
trees in it. It's like so beautiful. I was just thinking, you're made for this place. It's just
I
like
should be living there. What am I doing?
You should be living here.
What am I doing with my life? Mukesh, the more time I spend in India, it's like I just belong in India. I was here from a previous life. I know it. The mystic told me I was.
Okay. But setting aside Mayapur for now, there'll be other days where I can speak more about Mayapur. So, I stayed with my wife and my brother-in-law, on the bank, on the cliff in Varkala, next to the Janardhan Swami temple. But then on the last day, early in the morning, all three of us went down to Trivandrum or Tiruvananthapuram, which I wanted to do a show from that day, but my whole internet fell apart and we couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, the last show.
That's right.
But it's the site of a very, I don't think people even know how old this temple is, right? People say that Krishna went there, Balaram went there. It's just like, it's a very ancient temple of Lord Vishnu, called the Sri Padmanabhaswamy Mandir or temple. And so it's a place that I visited a couple times in the past. It's a place where they don't let non-Hindus or Western people in, but there's still a king. He doesn't have executive power or anything like that, but there's still a king of the area. Yeah. And with his permission, I was allowed in. We were allowed in. And so we went there early in the morning. Huh?
You didn't get to meet the king, did you?
I haven't met him. No.
Okay. He didn't give you okay, you can go in. It was just
he gave me a crown, actually, Raghunath. It had jewels all over it.
And a saber. I want to meet a king.
So it was nice. We got there, and first we visited a few nearby temples, which are very cool. One was a Lord Brahma temple. It was called the Trimurti. They had a temple of Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Brahma all together. Really cool, 3 little temples right together. And I never go to Temple of Lord Brahma, and that was quite moving. I really felt it was great. It was awesome. But then at about 10 in the afternoon, 10:30 in the morning, I think we went into the Padmanabhaswamy temple. Now, as you approach it, this is a lot of what I was going through, because I went there in the morning with my wife and brother-in-law. Then they went back up to Varkala, and I flew out the next morning. There's no point in me going back up there and coming down the next morning, so I stayed in a hotel and flew out to Calcutta early the next morning. So I had a chance to go back in the evening too, which was really fantastic, So I was there morning, or let's say noon and evening. And as you approach that temple, there's the Gopuram, right? If people want to Google this, Gopuram, Gopuram. It's like, it means the temple gates, but they're gates that are like these massive pyramids of sculpture, with thousands of sculpted images from stories like Srimad Bhagavatam and Ramayana and Mahabharata, the different gods and the goddesses and the different leelas playing out in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sculptures on this massive pyramid. And you look at that architectural, artistic masterpiece that people have been walking by for centuries and centuries, walking through that gate. And if you have even any devotion in your heart, you can't help but feel moved by this, right? Like,
sure.
People investing devotion, people investing artistic ability, but more essentially investing devotion in one spot. And you see, this was the thing that I was thinking about, is that this entire massive complex, which I'm going to describe in more detail, was very consciously designed by incredibly brilliant, deeply spiritual people, with the backing of the government, right? With the backing of devotional kings who had power, saying, we want to make the most important place in this city a place where people will realign their minds right? A place where people can come and have their minds and hearts transformed in the most beautiful, devotional, yogic way. And so we're going to invest the money. We're going to invest the artistic expertise. We're going to invest the architectural expertise. We're going to invest all of
the engineering, the builders, the artists,
everything, as well as like the sciences of astrology, the sciences of numerology, the sciences of Vastu, you know, which is like the Feng Shui thing, the sciences of like mandalas. We're going to do everything so that when you walk into this place, you feel something that you'll never feel any other place. But not only that, it's going to start to realign you when you experience the architecture, when you experience the art, when you experience the deity, you know, the form of the Lord in that place, that you can't help but feel moved and transformed. What to speak of if it becomes the center of the city and all the people come there and participate in this, then we all together become realigned with God, realigned with each other. And it's done through masterpieces of architecture, masterpieces of art, as well as like devotional poetry, devotional music, you know, Vedic mantras. It's such a powerful cultural center. It's mind-blowing.
You know, I'm thinking about like what do architects have to build nowadays? Okay, we got a strip mall for you to build. We got, you know, so you're investing all your energy and your time to build a mall or to build a strip mall or to build just like track housing
or just that's straight up skyscraper for business.
Or a skyscraper for business. So you think, okay, this is a gig. I'm working for my firm. I can do this gig. I'm going to get paid a certain salary. Or this is my firm. I'm going to make a salary by building these things. And then maybe you're a little better of an architect. You're a little bit more renowned. You know, I've designed houses. I'm a Frank Lloyd Wright, and I've designed cool houses. But what a thing that you can actually design or be a part of an artist or be part of the contributors to like works of art that you know will last, that will become a legacy that will last millennium after you're there.
Yeah.
All built as an offering of love. And like it's in the same way you're chanting japa in the morning, or you know, Janeshwar Prabhu is singing in kirtan, or someone else is doing puja. They're carving and they're doing that worship. It's a type of worship to carve these deities that are part of this Gopuram, or to be part of this. And there must be an internal payoff. You know, me and Mara went into an artist store, and there's artist shops everywhere. And it's part of their business. They sell art, and a lot of their art is devotional art of Radha and Krishna and things like that. And he was just showing us around. And, you know, part of it's they're salesmen. They're trying to sell you art. And then we started talking to him, and we weren't really going to buy any, but we started talking to him. And I said, so what did you paint here? He said, I painted actually a bunch of this stuff. And he said, my son also learned how to paint, but my son gave it up and started doing, what did he say? Software developing. Because there's so much more money in software developing than art. And I looked at him and said, but you know what? Yours, I'm sure, is so much more rewarding. And he said, yes, it is much more rewarding. It is much more rewarding. And the contribution that the person probably, the contribution to the culture and to society, it's so sweet. And I met another.
We don't love software developers.
Yeah, we love software developers out there. But you know, I met another great guy, Kaustubha, yesterday. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Jump in again. I was just they have these incredible antique shop, and this guy was sort of like, you know what I'm finding now? I'm finding whenever I see an old guy around, I find out that I'm older than the old guy.
Okay.
So I'm talking to this guy for like, you know, literally 45 minutes in the store. He's got this antique shop. Like he's got ancient ghee lamps and ancient, you know, puja paraphernalia and like beautiful posters and paintings on the wall. And these beautiful ceramic Krishnas and deities, terracotta from South India. And anyway, I started talking to him and I said, so do you have children? He said, yes, I have grandchildren now. He says, my children are grown up. My daughter's a lawyer. My husband's an engineer. And now I have a little grandson. And I said, how old are you? He said, I'm 50. I said, where did you get all this stuff from? And he goes, well, I've been collecting it for 40 years. They're almost like collectors, antique collectors. And then I said, well, and then we saw a picture of an old man wearing saffron robes. I was like, and I was joking with him, and he goes, when are you doing this? Like, when are you going to put on saffron robes and renounce your work? And he said, very soon. I'm just turned 50. He's like, very soon. He goes, I just turned 50. I'm finished. I've done my life. My children are grown, and now my grandchildren are growing. And very soon, this will be my life all day long. Just bhajan. Or, he was just, I was like, wow, this guy did it. He went through the process of life. Probably got married young, had children.
Responsible, right?
Incredibly responsible and ethical and moral and religious. And I said, what's your name? He said, Jagdish. I said, he's named after the deity. And he says, yes, my grandmother named me this. He said, my grandmother gave me so much. What did he say about his grandmother that was really cool? He said something, my grandmother would go to every artik every day, and she would take me there and she'd sing with me. It's like these people are from like these Bhakti families. It's so impressive.
Okay.
All right, go back to your story. Sorry for jumping in on that.
No. And actually, what you just said is interesting because it'll tie into something I was going to say. So the idea is like this, that you have within this city, going back thousands of years, there were leaders there. But these leaders weren't leaders based on just getting the votes of people through their ridiculous political parties and, in the games that they play. These are people that had incredibly deep knowledge that was based on these ancient texts, based on Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita, based on the Puranas like the Srimad Bhagavatam, based on Ramayana and so on. So they were carrying wisdom and you could, sense it in their words and in their behavior and so on. And so these leaders said, we need, as a society, to create something central here that will uplift people and that will do it for centuries and centuries beyond our time. And even knowing that it would take centuries just to create it and that they won't even be there to see it all completed, right? And so drawing from this wisdom and drawing from these sciences, they conceive of how to build this place, but they want to build it according to what's taught in these ancient texts. And so what they drew from is called the Padmanabhaswamy temple. So Padma means lotus, Nabha means navel. So it's a name of Lord Vishnu, who's the center of the universe, right? Just like Jagadisha, right? You're at the Jagadisha temple, which means Jagad means the universe, Isha means the Ishwara or the controller. You could say the master, right, of the
Masters
universe.
of the universe.
Padmanabhaswamy means the same thing. Swami here means like the director, right? Like the Ishwar. That this form of Vishnu is the director of the universe, right? Because the idea is that Vishnu in that form of Padmanabha, and we've talked about this on some shows back, right? We had one show that was called some like, "Am I a virus in the body of Lord Vishnu?"
Right.
In other words, so just like every body, like say a human body, it has a soul within it, and the soul animates that body, gives it life, and spreads its awareness throughout the entire body. So the universe is the body of Lord Vishnu, and Padmanabhaswamy, Lord Vishnu, as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he is the soul of the universe. He gives life to the universe, and it's his awareness that spreads through into the heart of every living being and into every atom of the universe. So it's like his body, right? And so the whole message here is that, yes, you can come here and see a form of the Lord of the universe and cultivate and realize that same Lord that's here, that is the Lord of this universe, is represented in a micro form in this temple and in yet another micro form in your own heart that you carry with you at every moment. And that is also in the heart of every other living being. Let's become aware of that. If we become aware of that, then we all become harmoniously centered around the center of the universe in a beautiful, devotional, spiritual, loving way. So let's create, let's again,
civilization.
Let's use all our wealth and all our, architectural power and all of our arts and so on to deepen our realization of this point. And so they designed this temple, like so many thousands of years ago. And so that we can grasp the idea that every one of us, we're just a very small part of a vast universe, which is directed by an omniscient, omnipresent director, whether you want to call him Padmanabha or Swami or Jagadisha. We're talking about the same person. And significantly, you know, that access to this director is available to us if we're eager for it, if we make it our priority, you know. So they designed the entire complex to bring awareness to that, right? So that means the way that they place that temple in the center of the city, you know, its placement, the architecture, you know, the Gopuram, the gate that we've described already.
Sure.
When you walk in, it's like, first of all around it is a big square, the parikrama, right? Like the walk around, right? Where you step around and you can circumambulate the entire. I would say that, so it's 4 halls laid out like a square. I'd imagine each end is about 250 yards, something like that. 200 yards, something like that. And it's just nothing but massive granite, incredibly beautifully carved pillars, each one with individual carvings with special messages and meanings in them. And when you stand at one end and you look 200 yards down at, like, you know, like 100 pillars on each side, each one just mind-blowing. It moves you. You can't help but feel a sense of awe, and you want to walk that walk. You know, you feel Shakti, you feel power as you're walking through that, and walking, you know, it takes a long time to walk around the entire thing, and you're centering yourself again around the center of the universe by doing that.
You know, it's like when we have a kirtan going, it's very wonderful when you have a beautiful melody. It's very wonderful when you have the tal, the beautiful percussion. But the real thing is that the rag and the tal are meant to deliver God, deliver the mantra, right?
Yeah.
And so when you hear the nice rag and tal, it gives you a feeling and a sentiment so you can sing Krishna's name. And in the same way, this type of Shilpa, Shastra, this beautiful architecture, it gives you a feeling, it's directing you towards a centerpiece, the highlight, the pinnacle of the entire temple complex. And there's the Lord right there. And it's like, it's like an amphitheater is like focusing down on one point on the stage.
Yeah. In the very center there's several temples with, it's kind of like a sandy complex. And then within, it's like a big sandbox, you know, and then, but within that, there's different temples. And of course, the main central temple is the temple of Lord Vishnu, of Padmanabhaswamy. So they offer you different, you know, like you can pay a, you know, special offering, and they give you something to offer, like lots of tulsi leaves and some bananas, some fruit and some flowers. And so we paid like the special payment. It's like 500 rupees. It's not very much, but that allows you to go up close to the deity, right? Like you can get, like, you're in the front row, you know?
Yes.
But the fact was, we had to wait in a long line. You know, there was some kind of delay and so on. We were hot. We were dehydrated.
Yeah, we were hot too.
And we had to wait a very long time. And, you know, it was myself, my wife, and my brother-in-law. And I appreciated something in them, and something that I felt, we didn't even have to talk about it, but we all knew it in our hearts. We're not going to complain, right? Like,
I felt the same way. I felt the same way today. I'm with Kelly and Mara and Mukesh. And by the way, in Chanchal, she's like, I'm not going to go. I'm going to hold all your things because you're not allowed to bring cell phone. So she very patiently just waited outside. We were in these queues that were long and hot, and it was just like, and I could just tell, I like, you know, usually I bring like 35 people to do these things, or 40 people. And I'm putting myself in everybody else's mind. What are they going through? Are they breaking down? Are they freaking out? They're Americans. But these guys are just like steady and stalwart, and just like, it was impressive. And I was like, every now and then I look at Mara, you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine, Prabhu. And Kelly, like, are you okay? Yeah, everything's great. So yeah,
you get trained. Yeah, I'll share one experience. I've shared this on the show before, but many years ago, I learned a lesson from a real saint, and it's something that I carry with me now for the rest of my life, and it's something that everyone that hears this can carry with them too, you know. And I was in Vrindavan and taken out to some of the different holy places by a woman named Srinathji, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, she was born in Australia, I believe, but you know, she's like a real guru. She's like a real deep Krishna devotee. And so she was leading it and telling us the Leelas and directing us how to approach these places. And we got to one distant place, you know, like really off the map. I don't, honestly, I don't remember exactly where it was, but you know, you've traveled halfway across the world to come to this sacred holy place, to hear deeply and experience something deeply. And when you get there, you know, you got these Brijbasi kids, right? Like these little local kids that are just giving you trouble. They're making fun of you. They're mocking you, you know, like they're just, they're just trying to get under your skin, you know?
Yeah.
And they got attitude over there, you know, those little kids, those Brijbasi kids. It's like they got sass, like, you know, like crazy, you know? And they're just trying to like, you know, and sometimes you see like the visitors, like the, you know, they get upset or they think like, well, we're in India and kids are supposed to do what you tell them there. And they start to like try to get on the, you know, hey, behave yourself. And that just gets them going more, you know? And what she said though, what Srimati said, she just said, everybody just relax, just sit, don't worry. And then she said it like this. She said, they just want to see, are we really sadhus? Right? In other words, they just want to see, are we really serious about becoming deeply spiritual, or are we just phonies? Right? And if we are serious, this won't bother us at all. And we'll sit here peacefully and tolerantly. And in a moment or two, they will just like lose interest in bothering us and they'll say, okay, these people are for real. And I've really tried to take that message deep into my heart and apply it in many times and circumstances in my life, you know? And I felt that I can see you were all kind of there today, and myself and my wife and my brother-in-law, we were all kind of like that too. Like it was hard to stand for hours, and it was hot, and it was dehydrated, and we just looked at each other and said, when you want something special and you want to experience something special, you can expect to be tested. You know, that's just kind of, and you accept, and when that test comes, you accept it, not only willingly, but maybe even with a little bit of sense of anticipation that, yeah, this is what it takes, you know, like, you know, to get something special, you know, to experience something special. So we had to wait for a long time. And then, you know, there was like some bottlenecks, and everybody, as you start to get closer and closer to the darshan where you're finally standing for the deity, everybody starts to get excited and elbowing, and, you know, what you're going through, all that. And then you get in there, and they brought us right in front of this. Now, so this Padmanabhaswamy is, I believe, 18 feet long. He's massive. Yeah. Like his head is like, I don't know what to compare, like the size wise, but it's like really, really big.
It's a big, beautiful darshan.
He's got big, beautiful hands. And so first you just see his head in the first door. And then you see his middle part with the lotus and Lord Brahma on top of it in the middle, and his feet in the end. And you begin to offer prayers from your heart. You know, that you know, how I walk through this world so blindly, unaware that there's a central director to it, that is not only benevolent, you know, not only omnipotent and omnipresent, but, you know, kind and benevolent, and most importantly, deeply loving, you know, who's behind everything, and who's entered into my own heart, and who's there for me to reconnect with at any point. And I walk around like a blind fool, acting like an idiot all the time, you know, just clueless, you know. When will the day come? You know, I pray for that day when I'll feel you in my heart at every moment, when I'll see you within the heart of every living being. You know, that's the idea, is that we're all moving through this world, and we all are trying to make ourselves the center. Like we're the Swami, right? We're the Ishwara, we're the Jagadish, you know. We all want to be the center of our own universe, and that's creates why
conflict.
We're
here. We think we're the center.
Yeah, and it creates a world where there's constant tension and constant conflict. In every transaction that we have in this world, there's a sense of gain and loss going on, and a sense of competition, and it wears us down, and it creates it creates anxiety that we carry within our bodies and our minds, and it makes us all disturbed all the time, right? So here's this huge complex just designed to help us realize something beautiful and spiritual about the universe and about ourselves, that will give us relief. And so we took that darshan. It was moving. It was powerful. It was, you are feeling the energy of millions of people that have been coming to this same place with the same attitudes and the same prayers and the same hopes for centuries and centuries. And kings, the greatest saints, the greatest sadhus, avatars, have come to this exact spot. And you have the great fortune to come there and be in that same spot. And then when we come out, and I'll tell you right now, this was one of the most moving things for me, is that there's a special style of painting in Kerala, right, in this particular state of southern India, that's really unique and beautiful. And they paint, I can't even describe it. It's very earthy tones, reds, earthy kind of reds, and the complexions have a very beautiful kind of golden glow. If you Google Kerala, Kerala, Kerala wall murals or temple murals, say Kerala temple murals, you'll get an idea of it. And it's a beautiful form of art. And in this place, you can certainly imagine you're seeing the highest level of that art, right? And it's wrapped around the outside of that inner sanctum. So now you're back outdoors in the sandbox area, and you're walking around the outside of that temple, which is, it's like architecturally, it's like, I don't know what you call it, but it's like beams that are built into the walls. So it creates all these different surfaces, some of them broader and some of them narrow. And each one is jam-packed with all the different leelas of Ram and Hanuman and Lakshman and Sita, all the different pastimes of Krishna, and they're so touching and they're so beautiful. It's you feel like crying when you're looking at them. It's more detail than you could even take in. And even if you just take one little corner, it's enough to make you cry. And then you step back and you look at the whole thing and you say, what kind of minds, what kind of talents, what kind of skills, what kind of training, what kind of devotional hearts went into... I haven't had an artistic experience like this since I was back in Rome, last summer, when you're in the Vatican Museum and you're seeing the greatest forms of art, and it's all spiritual. Right. And then to see it in our own, like in our own Bhakti tradition, there were paintings in there, Raghunath, that just like, I'm telling you, it was just like, the last painting as I wrapped around was like this most mind-blowing painting you can imagine, which is actually a very esoteric and erotic scene. It's Krishna stealing the clothes of the gopis. It's showing... Yeah.
We had a Krishna stealing the clothes. We had a
also there.
What's it called when you put a mosaic of that, a massive mosaic of that? Yeah.
I wish I could take.
Of course, we had the beach. Of course, we had the. I'm going to send you a photo. I took a picture of it, and we had of course, when you go into the inner chambers, all the B.G. Sharma artwork.
Oh yeah.
Was there, and he's one of the original Udaipur masters of Rajasthani style paintings.
Yeah.
Kelly's going to post a picture of that.
That's another art style that's so touching. Yeah. Here's just a whole nother style, a whole nother Bhakti tradition, with a whole nother style, but totally mind blowing again.
Totally mind blowing. It's just, and they're just different places. It's different places of Bhakti, and here you'll eat different foods. What was the what was the sweet we had?
Laddu?
Shurma laddu. And the bati.
Yeah, dal bati.
Dal bati with these incredible.
And down there, it was dosa. Like I had the best dosa I ever had in my life.
Oh, really?
But all that being said,
Uma this morning.
This painting of Krishna, he's up in the tree, right?
Okay.
And and he has their clothes up there, and the gopis, they're painted so beautifully, it's like mind blowing. And Krishna's face. Raghunath, I just can't describe just how sublime the expression on his face was. And you look at that and you feel that this person, Krishna, is so sweet and so beautiful and so loving, but so infinitely deep that my mind can't even ponder who he is. When will I know him, right? When will I really know him as my friend? When will I really know him as my lover? this painting inspires those feelings. You know, there's another painting was mind blowing. It was Kalki, the avatar that comes at the end of the Kali Yuga, when there's everybody's demoniac and completely, and he just comes and wipes them out. So he's on a horse with a sword, and it's just showing like miserable scenes of misery that he's just like kind of like putting an end to. But then above that, it shows the sages in their yogic asanas up in the higher planetary systems, just like not even having to, just untouched by, because they're in such deep sattvic yogic, you know, consciousness. You know,
isn't it amazing? We're in the midst of a renaissance of those sages. That's what's going on. We're like training to be sages. We're like training to resurrect those, to become like resurrected versions of those sages.
Yeah, that's what
we're born within the chaos, within the Kali Yuga. We were born there, and then we heard about these sages. How can we do what they do? How can we be like them? How can they be our heroes instead of like sports stars, rock and roll stars, but whoever else people worship out there? How can we be like them? And slowly we create this renaissance just from communities coming together and like planting these bhakti seeds. And it's so important to have this culture to come and visit on a regular basis, to get inspired and to go back out into and like those women inspired Kelly this morning, and like even the ladies, and the pujaris like whipping Mare in the head with the little towel thing today, and how that it makes you feel ecstatic. It's like it touches our heart, and then you just go home, and that now is planted in you, and you want to give that to
a little bit deeper, right? A little bit deeper each time. And to share one last thing, so I went back in the evening, the sun's going down, right? And rather than big long lines, what there was like all around that prikrama, right? That whatever it is, 800 yards or whatever that whole thing is, with all of those pillars and all those sculptures. Like in between each pillar, there's kind of like a little raised there that kind of serves like as a little bench.
Yeah.
And every bench is full, right? Just hundreds and hundreds of people sitting there as the sun goes down, having just taken darshan of Lord Vishnu, and relaxing and talking and feeling the presence of the place. And then there's a mandap. There's many mandaps at different platforms, beautiful architectural platforms with pillars and roofs. And I settled in at this mandap where there was like a group, mostly ladies. There's maybe about like 8 or 10 ladies and maybe about 4 or 5 men. And they're chanting mantras together. Eyes closed. Some of them had their little booklets out and reading along. Some of them fully memorized them. You can see they probably come here every night, or maybe they come here every Thursday night or whatever, right? And they sit there and they face in the direction of the Vishnu temple, and they're chanting Bhagavad Gita, and they're chanting Vishnu Sahasranam, and they're chanting prayers to Lord Nrsingadev, and they just go on, and you can just feel that vibration in such a beautiful set. I'm looking at them from an angle where it's like they're up the steps on this ancient granite, incredibly carved platform, and in the background, through the pillars, of the prikrama walkway around it, is the massive, beautiful Gopuram. The whole thing aesthetically is just
the most pleasing thing you can imagine.
So
like
it's
otherworldly,
it's majestic and beautiful and it's perfect in every way. And the sound that they're chanting is just like it's something like coming home to the spiritual world. And you just realize this is how we're meant to be living. What the hell are we doing watching all this crap and listening to all this? Is real life,
Just do it. We did it. We did the whole show just about our experiences in the last 48 hours.
Yeah,
it's 6 o'clock.
All right, man.
Mayor, I don't know if you did any takeaways for today.
I did not, but I did forget to announce that there's a shloka memorization group today at 10
There you go.
a.m. in Chandra.
So there you go. There's an opportunity, right? Like, join in, learn this chant. Even if you don't memorize them all, chant with the people right there in the thing and connect to this kind of thing. It's beautiful.
This is
we should bring the shloka group and do a tour and go to all the different temples and chant all the shlokas.
We should. Mukesh, thanks for joining us and sharing us. You want to say anything about pilgrimage? You go on pilgrimage. He takes groups around pilgrimage. Tell us about what we do on pilgrimage.
Well, what to say? It's like so much love And Prabhu is always like giving, giving, giving all the time. I never seen him like, okay, Mukesh, this is the time we should have a little rest.
That's not, you do deserve it, Raghunath. You got to, it's a fact. Raghunath gives and gives. He carries a lot of weight on his shoulders, and he needs a little time where he just goes there, and rather than thinking of everyone else's experience, can just experience himself.
It's so different. It's not like a list on a paper, like this is we will do, we'll do. Okay, this is our program for 10 days. No, there's always 24 hours like, okay, what can we do now? What can we do now? It's always like giving.
Spontaneous.
Giving.
Yeah.
There's not a list. It's all very spontaneous. So whenever I feel it like 24 hours. So if sometime if my room is next to Raghunathji, it's like, Mukesh, where are you? Mukesh kahan hai? So I'm like 3 o'clock in morning, Raghunath is like, ready, okay, what are we doing now? And it was totally different. Let me tell you, it's been almost 10 years ago when I met to Raghunathji. We're supposed to drive from Delhi to Rishikesh. And I thought everyone will fall asleep for next 2 3 hours at least. And I just said, okay, now we turn the light off and you can have nap or rest. Or Raghunathji said, what? We are not here for rest. What is rest? And it was like chanting throughout the, it was like mind blowing. My first experience I had with Raghunathji. And then I thought, oh, thank you so much, Raghunathji. And I feel blessed to be part of this community. And it's like so much love, so much love.
He is the Lord of love, this guy, Mukesh. But if you've been on pilgrimage, you know.
He takes a lot of groups around, but I bet he would tell us that Raghunath's groups are very unique.
They're special. We have a special time together, Prabhu. Hey, I want to thank everybody for joining us. October 18th, you want to join me here? We're going to Varanasi. Varanasi's been totally cleaned up. It's like we're ready to go. And we are so ready to come back to Udaipur, Nathdwar, Ekalingam, Rishikesh, Haridwar, Vrindavan Dham. Tomorrow morning, this little crew leaves for Vrindavan Dham, heading to Govardhan. Lots of adventures. I'm sorry I'm going to miss, but it's going to be a little too crazy, but hopefully see you the day after tomorrow. Thanks for everybody joining us on Zoom with our crazy schedule. Oh, if you came in late, sorry I didn't say hi, but tune in tomorrow for Q&A day with Kaustubha and Tara, our good friend who me and Kaustubha have known since we were young brahmachari men. Kaustubha is live in Mayapur. It's exciting. I'm sort of like love being here, and I'm jealous and want to be there with you. But this is great.
Yeah, we miss you. We miss you.
Yeah. Well, thanks, everybody. We love you. We're going to sign off because there's Artik in 30 minutes at Jagdish Mandir. Beautiful day for a beautiful day. Let the magic continue to flow. Harry Bo.